Number 3, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold and the Vikings visit the Lions this week. Sam's coming off his worst game. It's been a great season, the season that none of us saw coming from him. He saved them. He wasn't even supposed to start this year. J.J. McCarthy gets hurt, and look at what he's doing. But last game, 45% completions, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick, 50.3 passer rating. That was against the Jets. So everybody has been waiting for Darnold to turn into a pumpkin. The question is, has it already began? Like, was last week the beginning? So he's got to come out and show us, no, it is not. And I'm going to be honest, about 95% of the people out there think you're going to turn back into a pumpkin, but I'm open-minded, all right? I'm actually giving you a shot. I get it, 6 years of bad football will have people thinking, a pumpkin watch. But I'm going to be open-minded. If you beat Detroit, and he's already beat some good teams, San Francisco, Green Bay, Houston, the Giants have a pretty good defense. If you beat Detroit, honestly, a lot of that 95% will start thinking, okay, Darnold is for real. He really is. And so go out there saying, I got to be honest, I'm not sure if I believe you. Okay, I really am not, but I'm going to give you a shot, so go get him, boy.
All right, let's talk about this. Okay, you guys know that I 1000% do not believe in the pumpkin watch. I've ripped that take again and again and again and again and again and again and again. But I understand that there's going to be some pressure on Sam Darnold, right? I do. And I think he's risen to the occasion. This is a divisional game right now. The Lions are coming off of a huge win, right? Huge win, a win that a lot of people feel put the league on notice, right? It showed their peak offensive powers, right? That game really showed just how great they could be, even if it was against a clearly inferior Dallas Cowboys team. But it did turn a lot of heads, right? Regardless of that. And Sam Darnold didn't have the best game against the Jets in London, which I had talked about, but I had also blamed more the play calling and Kevin O'Connell, actually, who I think is also amazing and love. So it was weird for me to actually blame Kevin O'Connell because I just didn't love the game plan personally. It just felt like they just kept going for big play after big play after big play, which I think was setting Sam Darnold up to fail, quite frankly. It just felt too forced. So now they're coming off a long rest, and I think that there's some pressure with Sam Darnold and the Vikings, more so not to win this game, but to continue high level of play. Because, like what he said right here, maybe it already started, right? I disagree. Great players can have bad games all the time. It's totally, no one just plays a perfect season, right? No one. Even Nick said that in an earlier segment with regards to who the MVP is. And so, but I do think, since Sam Darnold has had his past, I do think it's fair where if he has a bad game or two, people will start to talk. And maybe even his own doubts in his own mind will start to be like, will he be like, oh man, like I thought I turned a corner. I also told myself through all these years that I was in a bad situation. It was in a bad place, bad coaching, bad roster. Maybe it really is me, right? Like, and I'm not saying that those are super strong thoughts, but they are thoughts. Like all these athletes deal with these doubts, and it's a constant back and forth, and it's who's going to win that battle. And I do think that has the potential where if he has back-to-back bad games like that it starts, just kind of starts to become a slightly problematic, right? Ever so slightly. And even the team around and even the coaching staff, right? You just start to lose a little bit of that trust and confidence. And again, I'm not saying tremendously, but right now they're riding so high and it's like they can do no wrong and it's exciting and you have that momentum. And it's just, if he has like a bad game and it's just noticeably a bad game, then people will start to get a little nervous, right? Even fans might get a little nervous and the players will get a little nervous and the coaching staff and ownership and so forth. So I do think that that's at stake. Unfortunately, when you have the career that Sam Darnold has had, you just don't always get those benefit of the doubts, right, for bad games. Josh Allen has had less than stellar back-to-back games, and nobody's like, oh, is he just overrated? Is he just trash and bad? I guess so, right? Like, no one's saying that. Joe Burrow gets off to a sluggish start. No one's saying, oh, man, the Bengals are in trouble. I don't know about Joe Burrow. Will he ever be the same? Sam Darnold just does not have that runway. So, and also when you keep winning, there's always that pressure to keep it going, right? And a lot of times they talk about how it's actually probably better for teams to not be undefeated, because then you feel that pressure of constantly trying to like not lose, because then getting a loss somehow feels devastating because you just got your first loss, right? And it's now proof that you're not invincible. It's proof that you're not unstoppable, because by definition, you were literally just stopped. So you have a ton of that pressure there. So for me, I just would like to see the Vikings continue to play at a high level, at a great level. These games are never must win to me, although definitely in the NFC North, these games matter more than any other division because it is so tightly contested and it is so intense. And so when you can get these divisional wins, it goes a long way. And the Vikings are competing for the number 1 seed, right? They absolutely are competing for the number 1 seed, obviously being undefeated and having the best record in the NFL. And so I already did the math before where it's like if they beat the Lions, they have like a legitimate, unless they lay an egg or something, they have a legitimate trajectory to winning 10, 11 straight games, being 10, 11, 0, right? So like, I mean, that would obviously be huge. I mean, their schedule outside of this Lions game can get really simple, really easy. Like, so it is actually there. So this is a big game. The Vikings should absolutely be completely prepared for it. I still don't know the health of a couple key players as well, if they're going to officially be playing or not. I don't really know. Honestly, I try not to keep too close tabs on the injury report because there's so many times that it's like, oh, this guy's out. And then it's like, oh, no, he's actually active now, or he's active. And it's like, no, he's been downgraded. So I tried not to get lost in that too much, especially because I don't know when people are watching these videos. So I don't want to go on like a whole rant about a certain quarter, about how key a player is. And it just ends up being like, he's not even playing in the first place. But I think regardless, the Vikings here, the name of their game this season is obviously to continue to win, right? It goes without saying, but it's just to continue to show that they're a top team in the NFL, that they are a contender, that they're not fool's gold. And again, I don't think they are. So that's all they really have to do is just continue to play great football, which again sounds kind of silly to say out loud, but you have other teams right now that need to prove that they can play great football. You have other teams that need to prove that they can consistently play great football. You have some teams that need to prove that a couple of their bad games earlier in their season were just flukes and they were just kind of shaking off some rust, from the preseason, right? Like with the Vikings right now, they just need to prove that they're actually just a great team and that they're just going to keep continuing to play great. They don't have to win every game. They don't have to blow out every team. They don't have to be magical. They just have to continue to play great. And honestly, the Lions are in a similar boat, because they did not have a great start to the season and they were able to really beat some not so great teams at the moment, right? And so now they need to prove we can play great and beat a Vikings team, right? We can beat another top team in the NFL, and we can do so without blowing them out. That it could be a close game, we can win a tough battle, and we can come back and score, in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, and do it. They did it against the Rams, but the Rams were decimated and it went to overtime. Like it was a different feeling. So the Vikings are in a similar boat in that regard, but of course the Lions are in a similar boat to the Vikings, but of course you're gonna give the benefit that you're gonna give the leg up to the Vikings because of who they are. But the thing is the Lions have recent history that is, of what they were able to do last season. The Vikings don't necessarily have that. I know they had it a little bit, but then they had the injuries. It's still different, right? It's a different feeling. You have a completely different quarterback, so you can't just say, well, hey, they were actually a really good team last year until they got injured. It's just different because the team is different with a completely different quarterback. If it was the same quarterback and now you kind of picked up where you left off with Kirk Cousins, then it would make a little bit more sense. But the Vikings are unfortunately in that situation where I think they're still even proving it to themselves, but of course the media. I'm convinced, as I've said so many different times in so many different Vikings video, I'm convinced that the Vikings are a top team, but I do believe that they are still in the process of convincing themselves what they can achieve, because until you really achieve it, until you really get there, you are like, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, and you are kind of say it from a self-affirmation type of place where you're like, we could do this, all right, we could do this, to the point of where it's like, yeah, we got this, right? It's what I always say. There's a difference between we can do this and we got this. And this season right now, throughout this regular season, from my viewpoint, the Vikings need to figure out how to get from we can do this to we got this. Because by the time they get to the playoffs, you want it to be we got this. And if we got this, then game, set, match. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold being under duress? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.